Well, the internet. Hello, it's Ghost here, and welcome to episode 16 of Minecraft Creative. I can finally say that. I've totally not been trying to get my laptop to play ball for the last hour of my life, which is helpful. But anyways, today we are moving on to an episode that I think I've mentioned before about this. I've been very excited to share this one, even though it's something as simple as building a bridge. So, if you're familiar with my harbour project, you know that I kind of have two separate sections separated out by this river. So there's a little island and then there's the main bit. And I realised I should probably put a bridge in. And odds are, I was watching Hermitcraft. Let's be honest, most of my inspiration at the minute is coming from things I'm watching in Hermitcraft. I don't gospelly know that's what I was watching. This was filmed a month ago at least. And I decided I want to build this bridge and I want to do it out of prismarine and copper. Specifically the oxidized copper, and yeah, that's what we're doing. If you're new here, I don't script any of my videos. I just throw my footage in, throw it in a time lapse, and talk and hope for the best. That is the way it goes. That's the way it will always be. Anyways, I built out the rough shape for my bridge, and I wanted it to have a bit of a curve, even though it just didn't necessarily have to, because I think that just adds a bit more interest. It's like the little bridges I have on my Starlight Express project, they're very flat because they need to be for what they are. Whereas this, I was like, I want to put some effort in. So I've gone as far as detailing things with trapdoors, and I think we get some buttons in it later, and chains and grindstones, and there's a lot going on effectively. This is probably the most detail I've put into a build, to be fair. Or at least a build of this size. I don't usually spend I don't even know how long it was that I spent on this. I think it would have been at least 2 hours to do this whole bridge. And that's in creative, so I don't have to go and get all of the materials. And I didn't have to oxidize the copper. I just got fully oxidized copper and then started grabbing the weathered version. Yes, that's the weathered version. And then interspersing that, because that, for me, in my opinion, I've talked about this before. Copper is a particularly helpful block, and there's just a paused bit of footage. Give me a second. Oh no, it's moving now. Is it? Or is my laptop screen frozen? I'd say my laptop screen keeps freezing, so I apologise if you get any long just chunks of footage. I can't tell what actually is just me stood still in the game or not. Anyways, as I was saying with the copper, and I've said many times before, copper's very helpful because it effectively pre-textures for you. So if I'm feeling particularly lazy about my texturing, I can just grab something and do it with copper. Because then all I do is grab a little variation out of it, and I don't think I've ever done a build where I use all 4 versions of the copper in one. I think I've only really ever used 3 at most, because I just find that it looks a little better, and it kind of, to my brain, makes sense time-wise. But yeah. Okay, so this is the first segment of footage done. Apparently I had to split this over a couple of days, I don't know. Saying that, I don't know how this was filmed. It very well could have been on the same day, but I had to stop and go do something, but who knows. There is a lot of footage of me placing grindstones and chains, but again, I think this is something I got from Hermitcraft. I want to put power lines in. I think, is it Gemini Tay that's been doing the power lines? I think they're cool, and I really want to put things like that, because adding more details to my world is a really smart idea and not something I actually spend time doing. I should also clarify, this is very much pre the most recent game drop, by quite a bit actually, thinking about it. I have started filming some stuff with the new game drop, but that's not coming out for another couple of weeks because I have so much footage now, it's just utterly spectacular. But yeah, there's that. So, okay, let's talk about the way I structured this. I wanted to use mainly the right, anyways, back to what I was talking about. I discovered that you can't light the bulbs with whatchamacallit, redstone. You have to do it with like a lever, which just so helpful. I like that they stay on and I don't have to keep something on it. Like, that's a nice thing about the copper bulbs. So the way that I did kind of my layout, I guess, for the thing, now we're doing all the grass stuff. I probably should have talked about this earlier, was I did that copper grate that you would have just seen. And then I put a ring of trapdoors, and then, is it the chiseled copper I did above that? I think it was chiseled copper next. But yeah, that was kind of the structure I picked. Originally, I don't think I wanted to use the trapdoors, and I decided actually that adds another layer of detail, and putting in the little extra effort's fun. And now we're moving on to, how did I add life to this area? Because I've been really working on trying to improve the visuals of my shorelines, because they're usually just left. If you look at them from the previous town project that I believe I finished last season, it's a bit meh. There's not much going on. I'm not necessarily going to go back and fix that. Kind of the point of this is that as I progress in my ability to actually build things, you kind of start to see that by going through the different projects. Anyways, going back to this. So I used, honestly, a mixture of foliage. I had picked up on using glass and then sea pickles or brown candles to make like reeds or something, and you can only place so many together before it starts to look a little bit weird, because obviously the glass will try and connect. But I did a few, and I'm really like that. And obviously doing them at different heights helps add some different layers. Small drip leaf, big drip leaf, lily pads, the standard kind of things, but everything obviously in green. I wanted it to almost feel a little bit whimsical, and obviously like this area isn't necessarily gone through as much. Why I quite did that on the way out of the harbour, I don't really know. But I mean, this is probably the most effort I've put into landscaping water. I normally just leave it as a giant ocean. Safe to say, my zoo could be thoroughly improved by everything I've learnt now. But yeah, that is, I think, in effect, most of what there is this video. So I do hope you've enjoyed my rambling, and I will see you all again on Wednesday, and I've wrapped this up too early. A few more seconds, and goodbye the internet.